Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Trends on Tuesday. My mug today, VE Day. This is the 50th anniversary mug. Today is May the 8th as I start this video, which is the 75th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day. This mug came to me courtesy of my mother-in-law. First time I've ever actually had a drink out of it. It normally spends its time on the display, in the display cases, along with its sister mug, the VJ Day one. Anyway, my little quiz last week, my question, what do all locomotives and pieces of equipment on my display shelf have in common? I thought it was going to be a quick, easy little thing that just about everybody would know. It's turned into something of a, well, I don't know what you call it. I did forget to put my light on here. Let's do that. So, what do they have in common? Well, let's take a closer look at them and we'll see. And so, as we look at this beautiful model of a Sterling 8-foot single, the story begins. Railways began in England around 1825, 1830, and by 1860 there were lines all over the country, including from London to Edinburgh, but they were owned by lots of different companies up and down the line there. Passengers travelling in 1862 would travel from London on the Great Northern Railway, the North Eastern Railway and the North British Railway, changing trains twice in order to complete the journey in 10.5 hours. In 1862 the three companies got together and purchased what they called common stock. That means carriages that could run all the way through without having to have the passengers get off and get on some other coaches. And in 1862 they introduced the first special Scotch Express. One of the locos that handled that on the Great Northern end was the Stirrock single. In 1870 Patrick Stirling introduced this loco, the Sterling 8-foot single, and it took over the services of the special Scotch Express, running between 50 and 85 miles an hour. Imagine that, when just 30 years before that the fastest anybody had ever been in the world was as fast as a horse could carry them. The Sterling 8-foot singles lasted until 1915. The last of them was withdrawn then. But they were replaced on the Special Scotch Express in 1898, or from 1898, by the Ivet Atlantics. Now I don't have an Ivet Atlantic, so I can't show you one of those, or a Stirrock single for that matter. Our story jumps ahead a little now. In 1923, the railway lines were amalgamated into what was known as the Big Four in the country. And London North Eastern Railway took over the services all the way from London to Scotland. Nigel Gresley designed his A1s, what we're looking at now, number 4472, in 1922. And in 1924, the name of the Special Scotch Express was changed to the Flying Scotsman. And this loco, number 4472, was named Flying Scotsman. And these locos handled the traffic until 1935. Now here our story is going to get out of sequence a little bit. I'll explain that. In 1935, Gresley introduced the A4s, the beautifully streamlined world record speed holding steam locomotives, the A4s, 1935. I don't have one in LNER livery. Mine is in BR livery, so I'm holding that until we get into the BR era. So right now we're looking at what I purchased as an A1, number 525, which is named AH Peppercorn. Now 525 AH Peppercorn was actually an A2. Peppercorn changed Gresley's A1 designation to A3, by the way. The A2s, if this is an A2, was introduced in 1947. Mainline steam, high speed. The A1, if this is an A1, was introduced a year later. When I was growing up, towards the end of the steam era, these locos, A1s, A2s, A4s, A3s, they were all busy up and down the East Coast Main Line as we know it now, hauling express trains until the diesels took over. So, A1, A2, LNER, Pacific Loco. Now our story moves on into the BR era. So this is an A4, and the A4s took over the expresses in 1935 and ran right through to the end of steam in 1966. So this one is my pride and joy. It's a limited edition Dominion of Canada. Now this loco was absent from the shelf last week when I posed the question, what did all these have in common? And actually this one is inaccurate as well. This is, I believe, a class 46. But in 1958, class 40s, similar locos, were introduced on the service, the Flying Scotsman. And they lasted till 1962. 1961 saw the introduction of the Class 55 Deltic, at the time the most powerful locomotive in the world. And these handled the Flying Scotsman at speeds of up to 100 miles an hour until 1978. In 1978, the Class 43 was introduced, the high-speed train, Intercity 125, taking the Flying Scotsman up to 125 miles per hour, sustained speeds. And so that brings us to the last one off the shelf, but not the end of the story. With the completion of electrification of the East Coast Main Line, the Class 91 Intercity 225 was introduced in 1988 and still runs the Flying Scotsman service today. Designed to run at speeds of 140 miles per hour throughout their lives, they are being withdrawn now. Throughout their lives they were restricted to 125 due to track conditions. So, to wrap up the story and answer the question, what do all of these locomotives have in common? The Class 91s, the last one we looked at on the layout, are currently on their way out. They are being replaced by Class 800 and 803s on the Flying Scotsman service, with a target date of 2021 set for completion. So, although we had some very good answers, some answers that couldn't be faulted really, all of these ran on the East Coast Main Line. The answer I was actually looking for was that they have all served to haul the Flying Scotsman train. Now, for those of you that say, but it wasn't the Flying Scotsman train in 1862, not until 1924. It was the Special Scotch Express prior to that. Well, that didn't stop BR, British Railways, from celebrating it. The Flying Scotsman, 1862 to 1962. A historic single and a Deltic, which of course came on, as we noted before, in 1962. So there we go. That was my question. What did they have in common? And that was the answer I was looking for. So, I hope you enjoyed this Trains on Tuesday. I didn't expect that to turn into that question last week to turn into a video like this today, but there we go. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope you enjoyed it too. If you'd like to know more about the individual classes or about the Flying Scotsman train itself, a lot of information on Wikipedia. Every single loco mentioned, including the historic single, each has a page, and there is a page. I would suggest you start by typing in a search for Flying Scotsman brackets train, and that will tell you about the Flying Scotsman train. If you enjoyed the video, please share it, please like it, and talk to you again next week for another Trains on Tuesday. Bye everyone.